Right now, Trump supporters are somehow being convinced that, in spite of all contradictory evidence, he is indeed making America great again by renegotiating trade deals with China, which he hates. Or loves? We're not really sure, but I'm Danny Gomez, and we're calling BS on Trump's relationship with China. The best way to track Trump's mind is his Twitter account. His first mention of China came in the early months of 2011. Obama was still in his first term, and Trump was just a New York-style fat Simon Cowell. When he wasn't busy lying about Obama being born in another country, Trump was busy criticizing Chinese trade policy, particularly the trade deficit. Throughout the 2016 presidential campaign, he kept saying that the US was getting ripped off by China and he, as the great deal maker, would fix it. Well, it's been 2 years, and so far, he hasn't. In fact, as president, Trump immediately said that the US would abandon the current One China policy, which treats both China and Taiwan as one country despite their split in 1949. But just 2 months after announcing the end of One China, Trump changed his mind after a phone call with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Actually, he said, the US will agree to stick with One China. But actually, no! Later that month, Trump accused China of being a currency manipulator. Then a few weeks later, Trump pushed again, tweeting that China had done little to help resolve North Korean aggression. So now Trump hates China? Again, we're not sure, because in April 2017, Trump met with Xi Jinping at Mar-a-Lago, and the meeting seemed to go well for both sides. Trump claimed that tremendous progress had been made. And then, just a few days later, Trump directed the Department of Commerce to investigate if imports of steel from China could be considered a threat to national security. Trump tweeted in June that while he greatly appreciates Xi, their efforts to resolve the North Korean problem have not worked out. In July, Trump tweeted again that he is very disappointed in China after North Korea test-fired another missile. And while Trump and Kim Jong-un threatened each other on Twitter, Xi Jinping reportedly tried to get Trump on the phone, urging him to tone down the rhetoric of fire and fury. You know, because nuclear war might not actually be the best solution. Trump kept pushing in August to find a way to justify a trade war with China, asking US trade representatives to look into alleged Chinese theft of US intellectual property, which they determined costs the US between $225 and $600 billion every year. Then, Trump went quiet on the China front, with no actual movement on any of these issues. Then seemingly out of nowhere, in January 2018, the US announced a crippling blow, not just to China, but to alternative energy. Trump imposed a 30% tariff on imported solar panels, most of which come from China, and taxes on large residential washing machines, starting at 20%. China expressed strong dissatisfaction, saying that the US aggravates the global trade environment. Then, in February, Trump's Commerce Secretary doubled down on anti-Chinese markets and proposed a range of tariffs, including 24% on steel and 7.7% on aluminum. Economists from every country warned that this would probably backfire and cause a trade war, and that these tactics historically have never worked. Trump, being, allergic to good advice, followed through on the tariffs anyway, taxing steel imports at 25% and aluminum imports at 10%. In response, the Dow Jones stock market index fell 1,500 points, its largest drop ever in history. The Trump trade war was fully underway by March, and a few weeks later, China retaliated by imposing tariffs on US imports worth about $3 billion. Trump then retaliated against the retaliation and proposed a 25% tax on close to 1,300 Chinese goods from the aerospace, machinery, and medical industries. So, China hit back again with another set of tariffs on the same industries, affecting a range of products from the US worth about $50 billion. American exports from Boeing, General Motors, and the price of soybeans instantly fell in value, just to name a few examples. And the Dow Jones dropped another 600 points. But according to Trump's Twitter, this is all going exactly as planned. It doesn't actually seem like Trump cares about any of this in practice. Just after, Trump's daughter Ivanka won several trademarks in China to sell books, housewares, and cushions. Trump seemed to not only soften on his anti-China rhetoric, but reverse it entirely. In particular, Trump announced his intention to save Chinese telecommunications giant ZTE, which has direct ties to the Chinese government. What's most interesting and disappointing is that ZTE has been implicated in doing business with North Korea, another area where Trump has promised strict sanctions. All in all, the only clear consistency between Trump and China is that Trump doesn't seem to actually care what is good or bad for the economy, America's trade balance, foreign relationships, or even sanctions he himself implemented. What seems to matter most is whether or not Trump and his family can make some more money. If this whole pissing contest is pissing you off, make sure you're registered to vote in your area by going to vote.gov. And if you see a candidate who you think can make a real difference, donate and tell your friends. Thanks for watching this episode of We Call BS. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more episodes just like this every week.